All right. Well, today on the podcast, I'm so excited to welcome Emily Durgin to the show. Welcome to the podcast, Emily.
Thank you. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so you just mentioned that you are sitting in your Airbnb in LA. Tell everybody what you're doing out there.
Yeah, so a little fun vacation and getting to have two races in. So we're out here with my Under Armour group from Flagstaff, and we're racing two races. Part of the Sunset, which is sponsored by secret location. So I can't exactly say where the races are at, but we had one of the first meets was last Saturday, and the next one will be this Saturday. So ran a 5K last week to kind of get the body back in race mode, and the 10K will be this week. So just fun opportunities to race and get that feeling again, which is awesome. We weren't expecting anything to really happen, so this is what we've been kind of training for, with the hopes that a race would happen, before the end of the year.
I love that you guys are in a secret location.
Yes.
How did the 5K go for you last week?
I was pretty disappointed, I guess, with the result. But at the same time, really having no expectations going into it, it's kind of hard to say that it was a disappointment, because, the whole point of it was just to kind of get the spikes back on, get those race nerves there, and kind of run a hard effort. So, good takeaways. And like any race, I think that you learn a lot from races that you really can't get in practice. And, it's been, nearly, I ran my last race in February, with my debut in the half marathon. So I hadn't been on the track in 15 months. So
Mm.
it was really just like that, so I'm just proud that I was out there and kind of, fought through it. And the 5K for me is still a mentally tough event. So yeah, it was, the result, the time, means nothing, but being out
Sure.
there and kind of, just competing, that's a win in itself.
Yeah, when I was reading up on you, I saw that it kind of sounds like
Hmm.
long term you're kind of in it for the long haul with the distance. So I can see how
Yes.
5K feels like that. Tell me this though, you guys are doing the 10K this coming
Mhm.
weekend, and this will come out after you've done that race. But um,
Yeah.
how are you feeling going into a 10K after racing a 5K on the track? You're like going to go back the next week and do double the distance.
Yeah, definitely. That's where I have more, it's more of my comfort, which I'm excited to kind of continue to try the 5K and kind of get more comfortable in it. But, right off the bat in the 5K last week, like, I'm not sure if it's subconscious or just kind of like my PR is always, it's not great. So like I go like to the back of the line, and in the 10K, I don't do that. Like I feel more confident kind of being somewhere in the front of the
Mm.
train. And this week I know going into it, like, I don't know, I just have a little bit more confidence in it. I'm more comfortable running the pace. So I'm excited for it. Yeah, it will be fun. And my training partner, Sharon, is also running the 10K. So, and just the race, all the girls that are in it, we're all right around 32 flat to like 32:30. So I think that we're going to work together, and it will be, everyone's just excited to be on a track and race. And who knows what the time will be, because, it's kind of a weird year. But I think I know personally I'm just a lot more confident, at that distance right now.
Who
Yeah.
else? Do you know who else is racing the 10K?
Yeah, I saw the whole field. So it's Sharon and I from our group. And then we got three of the Hanson Brooks girls.
Oh, so
Uh,
Natasha Rogers, would she be in there?
yep, yep. Natasha is gonna come out and run it. And then we have Anne Marie Blaney, who I competed against in college, so we know each other pretty well. And then her other teammate Olivia Pratt, who we've run against a bunch of times. And then I'm trying to think what else the name is. I think there's another like three or four girls. Oh, Paige Stoner,
Okay.
who runs in the Reebok group. So it's, yeah, it's great. A lot of a lot of girls almost in, or women, I should say, kind of right around, my graduating class, which will be a lot of fun because it will be like get us all back together.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. Okay. So I want to get into your group with Under
Hmm.
Armour and working with Shayla. I actually interviewed
Yes.
Shayla for the
Hmm.
podcast. Her episode's going to
Hmm.
come out in a few weeks. So I'm excited to hear more about the decision to go there and everything. But let's give everybody first an intro to Emily and hear a little bit about your story growing up and, yeah, your just introduction to the sport. You're from Maine, right?
Yeah, correct. So grew up in Standish, Maine, and then graduated from high school in 2012. I went to a private Catholic school called Cheverus. And then, growing up, I was a dancer before I was a runner and loved competitive dancing and did that all through grade school and middle school. And I began running track. We had USATF program in our town. So it was like summer track and field through USATF track and field. And yeah, I started that in the fourth grade. Of course, with high jump was my event and like 200 meter, and yeah, it's a funny story. I remember like one of the high school girls was my coach at the time, and she just, I don't know why, but she was a distance runner, and she just like could tell that like I would be good at the longer distances. And my dad had said that too. And I remember it was a week because when you're younger, they switch between like the 1500 and then I think it might be like a 3K they do for that age. So it's like, yeah, one or the other. And the week it was a 1500, and my dad's like, you should enter it, you should run it, I think you'd be really good. And I like started bawling, crying. I'm like, oh, I can't run that far. And then yeah, my coach at the time, the high school girl was like, yeah, Emily, you'd be really great. So of course, her saying that, I'm like, oh yeah. And then I went out and won it. So
Mm.
as soon as that happened, I loved it. I loved that I won and it felt great. And then from there on, I went back and forth between the 1500 and the 3K. And yeah, it was running, it was fun. And that's kind of just, and then dance, unfortunately it was too hard with the running because I was starting to get into point and lyrical and a lot of things that when I started to grow, my feet and the muscles used in dance didn't really match with the running. So I kind of had to make that decision at a young age to kind of stop dance. But for me, it was pretty easy because running was with all of my like friends from school, and dance was, it was still all my friends, but it was from like all kinds of different towns. So for me, it's like, oh, I'm gonna go to do track because I get to be with my best friends every day after school. So that's kind of where the switch happened. And then, yeah, I mean, as young as I think I was in seventh grade, we went to the junior nationals in Kansas. I believe that's where it was. Yeah. And that was like my first like national meet in seventh grade. And we had like a little team from Maine. So, and I just loved traveling for races because that's how I got to go to all these different states and see different things. And it was with really close friends of mine, so it was just that's kind of how the running took off. And kind of at a young age, I was competing against girls from all over the country, which is pretty cool to say.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Do you
Hmm.
still like to dance?
I am not that good of a dancer. We were actually joking about the other day that I always got points for my facial expressions more than like because it's like all these different like categories, so they do like kind of the performance side of it and the facial expressions, and then there's like categories for skill, and my skill was always pretty low score, but the way I presented myself and my facial expressions were always the highest score. So
Uh,
yeah, I don't think I was ever a really good dancer. More of, I guess, more of an entertainer, whatever that meant. So
that's funny. I forgot
yeah.
about facial expressions. I did
Hmm.
cheerleading all through and,
Yeah.
like high school. I think I quit my junior year for cross country, but I forgot about like the them always talking about making the facial expressions and doing the, oh yeah, and like going to competitions and
Yes.
It's a
Yes,
huge part.
it is. And I mean, it was my life, because you don't just do one class a week. I was in the studio every single day of the week, and it's pretty intense, especially when I got older. And yeah, I loved it, and I never had, a bad experience with it, but I definitely wasn't the most talented dancer in the group.
Maybe you would be a really good actress since you were so good at the facial
Yeah.
expressions.
Hey, maybe. Yeah, I went to school for like sports journalism,
Oh,
and
good.
that's what my degree is in. So yeah, I like talking and kind of interviewing people, kind of doing what you do. This
Yeah,
is
you're going
great.
to be a
I think
podcaster.
right. This is the future. Everyone loves this. So
I do have that in my notes that you were a communications journalism major. Yeah, and I was going
yeah.
to ask you about that. I was like, oh, this is probably really fun for you then.
Yeah, this is exactly kind of, what I envisioned myself doing. So, but with the communication side of it, I took a lot of classes with PR and public relations, and I was interested in that as well. And it's really cool because now, journalism in, at least at UConn, it's completely changed from, you still have to learn all like the print side of things, but they do a lot now with, like social media and online journalism, and they're really changing with the time. So it's super cool that, that's kind of what you're learning now, is kind of how to, I just remember a lot of my classes where we'd have to go to soccer games or football games and
Mm.
sit and like live tweet. And that, I just think that that was a really cool thing that I learned while I was there.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I graduated college in
Yeah.
2006.
Yeah.
So none of that was a thing. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I when I graduated college, we were a year into Facebook. So like Twitter wasn't a
Right.
thing,
Instagram
Instagram wasn't a
wasn't.
thing. I mean, it's
Mhm.
wild and
Yeah.
podcasting definitely wasn't a thing.
Right.
So it's
Mhm.
just crazy the careers that have been created since then. And that's so
Oh
cool that
yeah.
you experienced that. You got to learn about that. I mean, I know I get reached out to sometimes from like local elementary schools. They're like, "Can you come talk to my class about podcasting?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Man, that's so cool. That wasn't a thing 10 years ago."
No.
Sorry, did you forget?
Yeah. Yeah. Cool because. Oh, am I good?
Yeah, you just kind of froze for a second.
I, oh, okay. So I don't know how Airbnb. Not sure how great the Wi-Fi is.
It's
So,
probably my end.
uh, but yeah, I thought that that was awesome because they really they are changing with the times. And a lot of people are like, oh, journalism, like what are you gonna do with that? Like there's nobody reads, the paper anymore. But I was like, well, that's not what journalism is anymore. It's evolving, it's changing with time. And that's something that, yeah, my school was super passionate about. So I was thankful for that.
Okay, last dance question before we move on to
Yeah.
post college. Did you used to watch, and if it's still on, do you still watch So You Think You Can Dance?
Oh yes, yes, I do that, and Dancing with the Stars is coming out, and so I'm more, yeah. So You Think You Can Dance is great. America's Got Talent is kind of what I'm on right now because they came back and they're doing now the live auditions again, like the quarterfinals. I think they're still on. But I always love So You Think You Could Dance, but Dancing with the Stars was always and is still um a favorite of mine. Yes. So that's starting soon.
Okay, who's
Mm.
your favorite Dancing with the Stars couples?
Well, so Caitlin Bristow, who was on the
Yeah.
Bachelorette,
Uh huh.
she actually has a podcast
Uh
that
huh.
I like to listen to.
It's like Off the
Yeah,
Vine or something.
uh-huh, yes, she's super. I mean, I like listening to her, and I follow her on everything, and I have since, I think she came on Nick's season years ago. But yeah, so I'm excited for her. But yeah, so I guess that's the only person that comes straight to my head that I'm, because she also was a dancer all growing up, so I think that
She'll
she'll
be
be
really good.
really good.
Yeah. Did
Yeah,
Hannah did
yeah.
Hannah Brown did she win Dancing with the Stars?
Yeah, that was last season.
Okay, and they won.
So, yeah, yes, yeah. And I mean, she must have also had some type of dance background with her pageants and all that. So, yeah, I'm a big big fan of the basketball. I follow all
Oh yeah.
those gals and guys, so they're always fun.
Yeah, me too. I love it. I watch
Me
every
too.
season for sure. Okay,
Oh yeah.
so let's talk about, you graduate college and then you have this
Mhm.
decision to make, like, am I going to go pro? I read that you're kind of the person that when you want to do something, like, you're going to go all in. And so it's like, if I'm going to, am I good enough? Am I going to do it? Am I going to go all in with it?
Right.
Or am I going to do something else? So talk about that decision process.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I've always been someone that I kind of give myself like this timeline and sometimes that is tough because you can't always have a timeline for life. Things change. When I was 16, I probably told myself that I was going to be married at 22. You just like things change.
Uh huh.
It's not you think one thing when you're young and it changes. But I've always, kind of set these goals for myself, realistic goals and yeah, and even with competing and life, I always kind of have like an A and a B type goal. So, there's that reach goal and then there's your like kind of realistic goal. And graduating from college, I was coached by JJ Clark my final couple years at UConn, and he had coached some pros, Chanel Price, Phoebe Wright. So yeah, he, then obviously his entire Clark family as well. So he was the one that was really encouraging me to continue in the sport. And he wasn't in a place, to dive too much into like the professional coaching again as much as he wanted to. So kind of left it up to me to kind of make that decision if I wanted to or not. And um, I'm really thankful for certain groups in the country. So Hanson's was a group that reached out to me and what wanted me to continue running and kind of like said there was a place for me there. And it was just being so far from home. I thought about it, but I wasn't quite ready to make that move yet. So I had known D'Agostino because I was best friends with her little sister Lily. We had actually lived together all 5 years of college, so she's still one of my great friends. And I knew that she was living and training in Boston with Mark Coogan, and they were, in the process of kind of building a group there. And obviously, very top elite runners. And but for me, I thought to myself, like, if I'm gonna do this, like, I want to be running with the best of the best, and these girls are right in Boston. Like, what a great opportunity. And Coach Clark has agreed, and he knew Mark through coaching, and Liz Costello was in the group at the time, and he had previously coached her. So basically, I went on my computer and wrote myself up a cover letter and resume. With my running and just life experiences and everything, and why I thought that I belonged in this group essentially. And I drove to Mark Coogan's house and sat at his kitchen table and basically sold myself to him. Like, I don't know if he even really knew much about me other than, maybe we overlapped when he was at Dartmouth at regionals. He saw me run. And in college I had, some great races and my times were okay, but I wasn't someone that was really recruited out of college. So yeah, and it was kind of just word of mouth. I think that he had heard from a few different collegiate coaches that they just, thought that I'd be someone that was going to develop over time and really, basically undertrained in college. Like,
Mm.
we didn't train hard. Not, well, we trained hard, but it was just low mileage, I guess. It was like a very, yeah. So,
How do you feel about that now,
um,
though? Like, when you think about being low mileage, undertrained, like, do you think I missed opportunities, or do you think, wow, I'm like, my body is rested and like ready to just get after it now?
yeah, I'm like super thankful for the way that Coach Clark kind of did my training and looking back at it, it's kind of funny because now but the thing is it's been like a very long process because I couldn't just go from 45 to like 9 miles, like I've had to work my way up and I'm still hovering right around like 80 to 85, which is still, I don't really know if that's relatively low or not. Everything's different now, but it's just been like this slow process of slowly building it up, and I'm thankful for that because yeah, I definitely wasn't burnt out at all. Like I was still like super excited to run leaving college, and I knew that there was so much more to come. And yeah, and I think Mark loved that too because I was like I ran 45 miles a week, like and so he basically was like, let me talk to my boss and see what we can do. And yeah, so got me a spot with the group. So basically that was kind of great. So no agent or anything like that. Full disclosure, I wasn't making like a salary. I had a gear sponsor and coaching, massage, gym. So it was great. It was great. But living in Boston, my rent was over $1,000 a month. I had to work. So a lot of the girls like that were kind of in my same position were nannying. So that I had found a nanny job, and that's what I was doing while living in Boston. And basically, in my head, not said it, but in my head, I was like, okay, this is my year to kind of see what this is like. Let's see what this professional lifestyle is like. Can I do it? Am I, I mean, I knew I was good enough to run with these girls, but am I gonna like it? Is this a life that I want? And sure enough, it was awesome. Training is, the best in the country, and it was just awesome. And I lowered my 10K time from, I have to think what I ran in college. I was, what was I 33, 40 10K runner. And then my first 10K under Mark, I was already sub 33, like 32 50s. So yeah, just within a few months, I was, making these minute PRs.
That's huge.
And yeah, and was just like loving it and competing with some of the best, and went on to US cross championships that year, would have been 2018. And I believe I finished fifth or sixth, and was competing with yeah these girls that I had looked up to. And it was just like, and I actually felt like I belonged there. So that's kind of where the shift started, and I believed that this was working. And this is something that I really wanted to do and put everything into. And so yeah, after my first year is when I ended up signing with Total Sports.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had known, I hadn't really known much about agents and how it all worked. Obviously because they weren't really approaching me in college. So my teammates in New Balance kind of talked to me about the process and
Uh-huh.
how everything kind of worked and like the professional running side of things. But for me, I didn't want to sign with an agent until I knew that this was something that I was going to kind of do long term. So yeah, after running a few good races, I had some success on the roads as well that summer. I didn't run great in my first US championships. I qualified in the 10K and just didn't run super well, but then came back and ran like some of the summer series on the roads, Beach to Beach and Falmouth, and then went on to run like the five in the fall. I just had like a clump of really good road races. So that's when Stephan Haas of Total Sports reached out to me and basically, asked, hey, would you like to be represented by, somebody, and are you looking to continue in the sport? And that's kind of where my mind had been like, yes, like I'm not ready to stop. I want to go through with this and kind of feel it out long term. So yeah, so that's how my first year pro went.
Yeah, I think these groups like the New Balance group that you are part of in Boston are so important for
Mm-hmm.
people like you because it does give you that
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to say like, am I ready to go all in with this? Um, however, it's also probably hard to really know because if you're working full time, like nannying, you have this like
Mm-hmm.
other taxing job on top of trying to train professionally. So now I'm assuming you're not doing an extra job like that? Maybe a part-time job, but not an extra big job like that. So what does that difference feel like?
Yeah, so I know it's pretty crazy because if you kind of talk and see all the different top runners in the US, a lot of them have to work at least part-time,
Yeah.
to kind of sustain the lifestyle. So I'm really, really grateful that where I'm at right now, I don't work. This is my full-time job, and I'm, on a contract that allows me to focus completely on the running, and kind of my body and my mind, and not having to work a second job or a few side jobs. So that was huge. I think it was good for me my first year to have the nannying and the balance of everything, especially when you come from college. It's a huge transition going from college where practices are super structured. You're
Mm-hmm.
waking up, you're doing your meeting for your first run, you're coming back, and then you go to classes all day, and then you meet for your second run, and like meals are already like kind of they're already like set for you. Whereas the professional life is just completely different. Like actually when my boyfriend Preston was just leaving to go back to Arizona, he like made a joke that he's like, "You're the laziest people group of people I know." But like he didn't mean it in a bad way, but
Sure.
it's almost like you have to like be okay with that. And like I'm not speaking for everyone because I know like even myself, like I have to have do certain things throughout the day while I take my rest. And recovering and rest is a huge part of being a professional runner, so we have to take that seriously. But I think that if I would have gone from my college lifestyle to 100% the quote unquote professional lifestyle, it would have been a little difficult for me. So having that almost like a transition with working and running, I think has helped me structure my day now. Yeah, because I still kind of keep my same schedule that I would have when I was nannying.
What do you like to do in your downtime? Because yeah, you like you said, you are recovering a lot. You probably take naps, but like there is a lot
Yeah.
of time where you probably have like I can watch Dancing with the Stars. I can read books.
Right.
What do you like to do?
Yeah. Well, it's also really great. Big move for me in being of 2019 to Arizona. This is my first time being away from family and friends. But I'm also on a different time zone. So it actually works out. So I get to stay in touch with a lot of friends and family. So I always tell my friends, like, call me on your way home from work because
Uh
that's like right now.
huh.
It's 4 o'clock back home and it's 1 here. So this is like would be my downtime.
Uh huh.
And it's so that's awesome. So I like actually have probably kept in touch with friends more now that I'm away because just phone calls and
Yeah.
FaceTime. So that's really what I do. I take that my downtime to kind of catch up with friends and family, which is great. And then this past year, I not not yet certified or anything, but I was working with a girl that goes to NAU, does pageants, and I was helping her just stay fit.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
pretty much just yeah. So really more. I mean, mind and body. So we were meeting an hour a week to essentially work out together, but we would talk the whole time. And yeah, and I actually really loved it. She reached out to me just via social media because she something popped up, and she like saw me and that I lived in Flagstaff, and she basically said, she's like, "Hey, I don't know if you're into doing training, but you look like someone that I'd love to get to know." And yeah, so I was like, wow, new career option.
And new
And
friends. Yeah. Wow.
and a new friend. So that was something we were meeting 3 times a week for an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, and I don't know, and I really liked it, and I wrote up a program for her. And she really also wanted to know just like really to me simple things, but about like fueling, like what to eat, like kind of just like for me and a runner, it's kind of just like everyday things. It's just like engraved into our mind.
Mm-hmm.
But someone that she isn't really an athlete, just wants to be healthy and kind of live a healthy lifestyle and do things right, didn't know any of these things. So she just was, wanted to know like kind of what I did on a daily basis and help her get fit, like mentally. So that all last basically fall and winter until she competed, and unfortunately with the pandemic we haven't been able to meet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's kind of the hardest thing right now is meeting in person, but that was yeah, so that was
Wow.
one of my other things talking about, but it was fun, it was great, it was awesome.
I love that. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the decision to go to Flagstaff because
Hmm.
you mentioned you'd never been far away from home. I'm sure that was a hard decision to make. So, did Stephen pursue you? What did that look like?
Yeah, so kind of like when I had to go through the whole process, I guess, of, different shoe companies and sponsors and everything, a lot of what, I guess not a lot, but a majority of what athletes would do after they graduate from college, I was doing, a year later.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, I guess what it comes down to is I loved New Balance and New Balance Boston. I loved everything about my situation there other than, just financially it was like too hard. I couldn't do it financially. And yeah, so basically that's kind of what it came down to, is more of like an opportunity where I could be running and not having to work part time. And that's kind of where you just talk to different sponsors, and it really just depends on what's available, what they're looking for at the time. So Under Armour, they were just starting to build this group in Flagstaff. And they were really, Rachel Snyder was the first athlete, and she was already really, she's slowly moving up now, but she was like, that mile 5K runner. And they were looking for like a longer distance runner, like more of someone that would represent on the roads as well. And that was kind of my biggest, I guess that was what was most attractive about me, is like, oh, this girl is interested in road stuff. Like we need a road type athlete. And yeah, so that's kind of how the decision was made to come and be a part of Under Armour. And then part of the deal with Under Armour was being in Flagstaff and being committed to starting this group here. So when I moved out, it was just me and Rachel
Wow.
living and representing. Yeah. So we've come a long way in a short amount of time. It I guess for some people it feels like it's taken a long time, but like I just like sit back and like say like no, like it's come together like very fast. Like it's, like yeah, so they've I can't, when this comes out it'll be all announced, but I can't say it
Yeah.
now. But the big like official announcement is being made this Friday. So
Oh,
it'll
this
be,
Friday.
I'm sure Shayla told you a little bit about it as well. So yeah, it's been a long time coming, but not really. Under Armour has really just taken so much priority into this, group and with the run category, and they've been working really hard to get this up and coming. So I'm happy that I've kind of seen it through and excited for the big reveal.
That's so awesome. You know what?
Yeah.
I was gonna put Shayla out in 2 weeks because I already interviewed her a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
But I'm like, maybe I should just put it out this Friday and time it with that announcement. That would be kind of cool.
That would be cool. Yeah. So I mean, I can say that, it will be, I think, a bunch of different all that. So it'll be cool. And obviously I'm sure they're looking for like more content. So it'd be awesome to like hook this up to like the
Yeah,
social
be super fun.
account and, kind of say, yeah. So yeah. I'm always thinking of
My
ways to push it out more.
my internet is like sucking because you
Mm.
keep freezing. Am I freezing
Oh,
for you?
no.
No, your face keeps freezing, but then I keep hearing your words, and then it'll sometimes delay it. But I
Mm.
think I'll be able to piece it together. Okay, so if I ever look like I'm looking at you confused, that's why.
Mhm.
Um, I
That's
think
okay.
I think it's gonna be fine though. Like the editing will be fine. Um, well,
Okay.
That is so exciting. Okay, so big announcement coming up. This episode will air after the announcement has been made. Everybody's going to
Yeah.
hear about it. Um, Talk to me a little bit more about Under Armour specifically, though, and what you love about the company.
Yeah, so I was really fortunate to go from New Balance to Under Armour because they're very similar with their approach to pretty much everything, how they treat athletes, how they what they represent as a brand. You know, it's very family. We are in this
Mm.
together. We're unite as one, and that's something that I really liked about New Balance and carrying over to Under Armour. It was very similar and you know, I Under Armour is super big about, you know, each individual athlete's story. And I'm sure like, you know, even from when I was in high school, it was always Under Armour, like protect this house, like kind of the underdogs type. That was always what they said, you know, back then. And they still carry that on as well as like through this together and like, you know, we will. And again, just like this um this team, and I love that, and I love being part of something greater. You know, I think that that's super important, and that's what Under Armour stands for. So for me, it's yeah, that's what it means to be a part of Under Armour, and I truly am part of the UA family. Like I don't feel, you know, like oh, I'm just like an athlete for them, you know.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's I think the best part, and they really utilize us runners, especially being new to the run category, and they use us a lot for product assessment and building the shoes and spikes and you know, in constant communication about that. And they're the first to kind of like, you know, recognize the fact that they're still learning. And it's open communication, which not to speak on other brands, but I don't know about any other brand that is really like that. Like, you know, like we have, gosh, sometimes it's like weekly meetings with the innovative team and like the footwear team, like how does this feel, what do you want different? And that's just been like super fun because like I said, I feel like I'm part of something bigger and not just, you know, running Under Armour gear and shoes. Like I really am helping build the brand, and you know, it you making the shoes better.
That's really cool. Yeah, it's definitely, I can tell that they're making a push in
Mm-hmm.
this sector of athletics, like in running.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I recently interviewed Aisha Pratt-Lear, and so I'm now seeing a lot more Under Armour athletes that are runners kind of in the
Yeah.
forefront. And it's cool too because they seem to use you all as athletes in their advertisements and whatnot as well, like in
Yeah.
pictures.
Right, right. Yes, because they really, I know actually we're doing because they're launching a whole new spike line. I guess that it'll maybe be like fall of next year. So we're doing while we're out here, we're doing just a quick shoot with the spikes. You know, I mean, I'm already racing in the spikes,
Mm.
so you know, to get content of me running in the spikes to push out to, you know, the bigger audience is awesome. So they really do use us for everything, and it's great because it's genuine and we actually run in it.
Yeah.
So I just love that about the brand.
Yeah, it is true. It's funny in other brands or whatever
Hmm.
advertising when you see just like a model wearing a pair of shoes or outfit or something. You're
Right,
like, but is that the athlete actually in the gear or are they just modeling the gear? It's fine if you're just
right.
if you it's fine if you're a model too, but it's fun to see.
Yeah,
Oh, that's the athlete that's like ripping out those really fast 5Ks in those spikes.
right. And that's yeah, that's what sells, and it's genuine. So I'm all for it. It's great.
Okay, so talk to us when you knew that you had to go to Flagstaff to be a part of the group
Hmm.
with Under Armour. Were you immediately like, yes, I'm sold, Flagstaff, or how did you handle that?
Yeah, so another great part of my whole transition and how everything just kind of really works out when it's supposed to is I had been to Flagstaff for the first time in 28 it was the end of 2017, beginning of 2018. So the New Balance group, they do a winter stint there, and they actually now do a spring one as well. So they go out for 6 weeks in the winter and then 6 weeks again for the spring. So I had already been to Flagstaff and trained out there and gotten to know people that were living out there. So it wasn't like this scary, like, oh, I had no idea where I was going. Like I was very familiar with it. And then Mark Coogan and Stephen are really good friends, and I don't know, everything just really aligned. So it was just a super easy transition that way. It was hard to leave obviously my family and my friends, and I was living in Boston. I had an apartment in Boston, and I moved mid-year. So it was it was tough, the first few months with everything, but I had a college girlfriend take over my room in Boston because she got a new job there. It was just
Oh,
really
nice.
weird how, yeah, everything just worked out so smooth that I like knew it was the right decision. So super grateful for that. But yeah, it was exciting. I was ready being from Maine and then going to UConn, living in Boston, like always within, 4 hours from home. I was ready for something different and knew that I wanted to kind of see where I could go in the distance running. So it was the right move. Yeah. And everything was pointing in that direction.
Oh, here we are. Okay,
Yeah.
you mentioned your
Yeah.
boyfriend Preston. When did you guys
hmm
meet and how did you meet?
Yeah, so we met when I moved to Arizona. So we actually, for everyone listening, we met on Bumble, which is
Nice.
a dating app. So a little Bumble sponsor in
Love
there.
it.
Yeah. So I was single when I moved out. I had been single since graduating college. So I was just kind of new city, and yeah, was on a dating app, and we met and we had our first date I guess it was hard because he was like living in Phoenix and I was in Flagstaff, so it's about like 2 hours apart.
Mhm.
So it was hard to plan like our first date with the move and me, like I was at a race. I remember when we like matched. But anyways, so it was like probably a few weeks later he like drove up for dinner. And then of course like the idea of meeting someone I was like super I thought I wanted, but then like after the first date, it was like a great first date, but I just wasn't ready to really, I guess, have a boyfriend. Like I was still trying to figure out my new life there. So then our second date wasn't for like a few more months. Like
Oh, wow.
he was in, yeah, he was in Flagstaff, for like a golf tournament, like a charity event. So we ended up getting dinner after that. It was like this kind of like slow, long process. So, and I think that was great because we kind of got to know each other and we were still doing our own thing. And then it was like we finally had our third date like end of May. And that's when it was like kind of like this like instant like change. Talking about my dating life now, but that's okay. Yeah,
I
it
want
was
to
it was
know.
it was funny because I had my it was like he actually met up with me and my roommate at the time, Ashley Taylor. She moved back to Canada. She's still running for Under Armour, but that's who I moved in with in Flagstaff. And so we went out to dinner, the three of us, and I think that was like what changed it all because I saw him interacting with somebody that I trust and like was like a good friend of mine, and seeing him interact with her was just like, oh yeah, this is the one. So that was kind of like the switch. I'm not sure why I didn't trust my own judgment. I had but I think that really says something like the way someone, that you care a lot about, like connects with someone
Oh,
that
for
you're getting
sure.
to know. And yeah,
Oh,
so
for
that was
sure.
kind of, that was it. And so, yeah, it's been since May of last year. So a year and a few months now. I mean, guess it'll be 2 years before you know it. It's
I know.
almost
Well,
a year
at
and a
first
half.
you were talking, I was like, does she
Yeah.
mean May of this year? They're still so new.
No, yeah. No, no, no. So it's been, yeah, I guess, I mean, close, yeah, a year. I'll be a year and a half, I guess, this fall.
Shout
So,
out to Bumble.
Shout out to Bumble. Yes.
I should at some point. I'll never do it because it would be way too time consuming.
Yeah.
Make note of all because I always ask the question like, "How did you meet your
Hmm.
significant other?" Because I just think those
Yeah.
stories are so fun.
Hmm.
And there's definitely a handful of people, well, a big handful that I've met online, but I know that Bumble
Online. Yeah.
specifically, we've had a handful. So, um,
That's cool. And
I
I'm
know.
happy that, yeah, I'm happy that people also like say it too, because I
Yes.
feel like, like, yeah, I feel like some people, like whether it's online or something, like they don't want to like say,
Yeah.
but I think it's changing now, and it's like more common because of course my mom and dad are like high school sweethearts. They've never
Yeah.
been with anyone but each other, which is awesome. But like when I like told my mom about, like, it was just taboo. She just didn't understand. She's like, "How do you know that this person is like good?" I was like, "Well, I guess you don't,
Yeah.
but how did you know dad was good?" I don't know. Like,
Yeah. I
it's
mean,
the same thing.
I think as time goes on, it's more and more just like
Hmm.
super normal to do it. I mean, even I think 5-10 years ago, it was more a more trivial thing to do, and now it's just like, oh yeah, we met online. And Bumble's the
Yeah.
one where it's just the female has to like swipe, right?
Yeah, well, the female has to start the
Oh,
conversation.
start the
Yeah.
conversation. Yeah,
Yeah. So both parties are like swiping, but then yeah, I guess the whole original, I'm not sure if it's changed now, but originally
sure.
it was the girl makes the first move.
Okay.
Um yeah, at least that's what it was like when I was on there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so talk to us about being coached by Shayla.
Yeah, so it has been awesome. So she came in fall of 2019. So when I first moved out to Flagstaff, it was just Stephen out here. So he was dual, had his athletes for total sports, and then he was also coaching and trying to build this group. So it was a lot, and he was gone, or he is gone, traveling to meets and all that as well. So we all agreed with Under Armour that we needed like a full-time coach in Flagstaff. So when I heard that Shayla was coming to Flagstaff, I was like so excited. So yeah, because of course I knew of her, and her background and everything. So yeah, I was like super excited, one, for it to be Shayla, but also to have like a female, like a strong female leader that I think we needed there. And so that was, yeah, both things together with her coaching techniques and how she kind of handles herself and presents herself was awesome. So it's been really really good, and still super new with building this group, so I'm just excited to kind of see it through and it continue to flourish. And it's still been, just not even a year yet, so I still think that everyone's just trying to get, kind of get everything in place for, and then of course the pandemic happened, so it's been tough, and I give her so much credit because it hasn't been like the super easiest transition to like a professional, coaching, because everything that it's just been so many unknowns, so I'm
Hmm.
really excited for what's to come. And being out here and getting to race these races, like it's starting to feel more like a team and real, and getting to see her in her element and coaching more is, that coaching side of things has been awesome. So I'm excited for that to continue to flourish and kind of see it all through.
Yeah. I mean, everything was just totally thrown off in 2020.
Hmm.
Way to start
Yeah.
something new in 2020. It's like, well, hold on a second. Wait a minute. Um,
Yeah.
it sounds like you've had some really phenomenal male coaches, though, throughout your career.
Mhm.
What do you see as the big differences between a male and a female coach so far in your experience?
Yeah, so I've had some great male coaches, and like to this day still like was just messaging with Coach Clark, JJ Clark, like, at least I'd say once or twice a month. Like we still stay in really good touch, and I've always trusted in male coaches. And My dad and I are very close, and I tell him like a lot of things. Like I'm very comfortable. I've always been comfortable talking to my dad about everything. But yeah, the biggest thing between the male and female is I think that there's a lot of other things like just like going through like your cycle, and like even we've talked about certain things like birth control, and not to say that obviously males have emotions and all that, but
Sure.
it's just kind of like just like different things that even if they understand and can talk about, they don't really, they haven't experienced. So just things like that, like we can being able to relate, especially with running, it's so important to kind of be in tune with your body. And being a female, there's just so much that goes on with your body that really affects how you feel day to day and race to race, that having another female that has gone through that all, she was a professional runner, she still is a runner, that's been the biggest blessing, being able to talk to her and kind of ask her like what she did, what did you do when you were about to start your cycle and you felt this way, like, so there is a science behind it. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so that's definitely the biggest thing. Yeah, but I've never had any issues. Well, I guess maybe in general it's kind of harder to talk to males about some of that stuff, even though every male coach I've had is willing to like listen and they'll hear. But to have, someone that actually has gone through it, it's makes it a little more comfortable, I think.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. I keep meaning to read the book by Dr. Stacy Sims, and it's
Mhm.
all about like fueling based on where you are in your cycle, like what you
Yeah.
eat and
Mhm.
everything. Have you ever read that book?
No, I haven't. I have heard of it. Yeah. I want to say that Shayla probably recommended that. She has, yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
But
because it is wild the difference. I mean, a week before
mhm.
your period, and then you're like, at least for me, I'm like flying high for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
once you have it, and then you're like, what's wrong with me? And it's even though we've been doing this for years, still every month, I'm like,
Yeah.
why am I a monster right now? Why do I feel so
Right.
bloated? And it's like, oh, because in a week you're going to start your period. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah. And then on top of that, imagine that week and then you're lining up for like the biggest
Sure.
race of the year. You can't pick when, things like that happen. But like you said, there's things you can do leading up to it that can help, you feel that much better. So it's kind of, yeah, that once you're at this level, everything like that really matters. And you need to feel comfortable talking about that type of thing.
Yeah, that's huge for sure. Okay, Emily, so what are your big hairy audacious goals? Like what are your big dreams for the sport?
My big dreams for the sport.
For yourself?
I mean, I think that, yeah, well, I think I mean, I can't speak on everyone, but obviously, like we're all Olympic hopeful. We're all training. It's not a big pool actually. I was gonna say there's a big pool of athletes, but it's not. It's when you look at every sport in the country, of the football players, basketball players, baseball players, golfers, the elite running field Olympic hopeful, it's small. And we're all kind of training for that. So relatively small. There's a good amount of people that will qualify for the trials and try to make it. And obviously only three go, but yeah, you gotta kind of have that goal in mind and just try to get on that stage and get to the highest level and truly believe that you belong at that level, is the biggest thing. So that for me is my biggest goal, and just continuing to believe it. And um, there's certain races where, yes, I get a little intimidated when I'm lining up next to someone that has a PR of, 40 seconds faster than me. But yeah, that doesn't matter. And you just have to continue to believe it. And so that's definitely my biggest goal is to make a US team.
Yeah, how are you training your mind right now? Because your career is at its infancy. And you mentioned like
Mhm.
feeling a little bit intimidated when you're towing the line with some of these ladies who have probably been doing this for a really long time, and have these big, crazy
Yeah.
PR, like really strong times. How are
Mhm.
you speaking that
Mm.
truth into yourself that you belong?
Yeah, so actually, Shayla and I, after the race on Saturday, we went to brunch on Sunday, and that's something we were talking about. And I'm still learning how to do that and how to like remind myself. And it can be as simple as something like, writing it down and sticking it on, my mirror and reading it to myself every single day. Yeah, so I think that I used to do a few of those things in college. I kind of, when I hit like a low point and um just everything, competing and everything. I kind of had to remind myself of things, and the sticky note method worked for me. So it had been so long since I raced. I hadn't really been
Mm.
training my mind during quarantine as much as my body, and I'm not sure if other people maybe they had the opposite and they use the time during quarantine to be better about that. But I think I not I think I know I definitely let that kind of slack a little bit because in a way I was almost just going through the motions. Like I stayed super fit. All my work have been great. Like I'm healthy. But yeah, I think I kind of might have let my mind go a bit. So that's something that, yeah, I'm excited to work on this next coming few months into the fall. And um, yeah, and so to answer your question, I don't really know. I'm taking notes. So if you have any tips, let me know. Or if you know of anyone that has good ways, like, because like you said, I'm really new to this, and that's something that I think I am lacking as a professional athlete right now.
Isn't it so exciting though? Because you're still so young and there's so much ahead of you. Like you can look at the career of someone like a Steph Bruce and just see like,
Hmm.
wow, I have so many years left to play this game, like to see what I'm capable of.
Right, right. And she's a great one to follow on social media because she's someone that you can see maybe at my age didn't have the mentality that she has now. And she's very open about that and kind of explains how she has changed her mind to think like, oh, I can run a fast mile and a fast 5K. And she really is awesome to look up to because I can see myself in her and how maybe at my age she was intimidated lining up to girls, that had the PR she has now. So
Yeah,
it's inspiring to have ladies like her, 100%.
that's so cool. Okay, lastly, before end of
Hmm.
podcast, you debuted the half in 72:52, and now you've since ran a 71:45. We talked
Hmm.
about how long term your heart might be in those longer distances.
Hmm.
So, will we see a marathon debut out of you in the coming years? What will that look like as far as your plans are right now?
Yeah, so I'm definitely on like a long-term plan. So we'll see what happens in 2021 and then, really just where I'm at in my career kind of marathon wise, focusing on 2024. So
Okay.
somewhere between 2021 and 2024 is where I'll run that marathon. But yeah, I would love to at least, hopefully as long as training goes to plan and we think it's good idea, like physically wise, to run a marathon. I'm thinking in the next, yeah, I would say year to year and a half. And definitely, it's funny even with the half marathon, those two times where I think I ran those like 2 weeks apart, and that was just again my first time running it. It's just I had no idea what I was doing, and I came back and I was like, it's just funny because in practice, like like to a certain extent, like what you're gonna run, like how fit you are.
Mm-hmm.
And that first one, I was just so far off it, and I honestly couldn't even tell you what happened. I just think it was the first one, and I didn't really. I just had to do it, and it was challenging, and but I loved the distance. I don't know, maybe I just again was didn't trust myself. So came back a couple weeks later and yeah, and ran more what I I thought I was gonna. So I'm
Wow.
excited to race a few more halves. Yeah.
A whole minute in 2 weeks. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Were the courses
Yeah, that's
different?
why not no, not really. It was,
Yeah.
yeah, it was Houston, but Houston was really fast that year. People ran great. Yeah, Houston and then Mesa. And I don't know, you people listen to this if they can get like the elevation and all that, if they get like super nitty gritty. I don't think it was really that much different. I think it was pretty even. But yeah, it goes to show that it really that's something that I'm still learning as a professional athlete is just to kind of, yeah, the mental side of things.
I keep doing this because there's gnats that are flying around my face. if you're one,
Oh,
if you're wondering why I do that, there's like fruit flies in here for some reason in my
oh
closet. I
yeah.
don't know why. That's weird.
That's great.
I bet that was a big confidence booster though to turn around
It
and run
was.
it so fast.
Yeah, yeah, it really was. And that kind of, and that, I mean, that's kind of what, with all the workouts I was doing, it's kind of the shape that
Yeah.
I knew I was in. It just took, another time to run it. And that's why even having this 5K and 10K kind of back to back, I'm happy that we get two chances to race because yeah, I just think that the 10K I got the first one out of the way. And it's hard because I guess that first half it's also a lot of it different than college because in college you're racing so much. You have a
Mm.
cross country meet every week. You have a track meet every week where in the pro world that's not how it works. You might only race four times an entire year. So you really gotta like be on your A game for those races. And it's definitely a learning experience. So still learning.
Yeah, was it so exciting to see, just like the marathon trials this year, knowing that like that's what you want to do in the future?
Oh yeah, especially, being close to Molly and training with her in Boston. And now she's actually in Flagstaff right now. She comes out to Flag quite a bit. And yeah, so even leading up, actually both of our key workouts, she was super encouraging. She was the one that was telling me to, because she ran the half at Houston with me, and she knew I was disappointed. So she was the one that was telling me to go run Mesa, and she was gonna, it was like really close to her trials, and
Uh
she
huh.
had like said that she was gonna come pace me and help me. And like
Aw.
I got yeah, I got one of the guys from Flagstaff, Craig, to pace. He came and paced me because I was like, I'm not gonna have Molly for but anyways, for it. I did like miles, 10 miles up in Flagstaff, and she did 12. And yeah, and that was like my last key workout and one of her last key workouts going into the marathon. So, and then watching her, you make the team was just super amazing. And to know that, hey, in a few years that's what I get to try to do. And yeah, it's awesome. It's exciting for sure.
That's so cool. Okay, Emily, what's something professionally or personally that you'd like to do that you haven't done yet?
Professionally or personally, well, back to talking about my little lifestyle and training coaching, I definitely want to dive deeper into that. I loved doing that this past year. So, I've like talked about it with Preston, like opening my own gym someday. That's kind of like an all around, like health, wellness, not super like gym type, like heavy lifting, but very just like body weights and, even maybe having some type of like hit type running workouts. Yeah. So I'd love to do something like that someday. Not specifically with runners, more just kind of like general population for sure. I write workouts for my mom already
Oh,
and
I
and
love
give her.
it.
Oh yeah, I have like ankle weight and like band routines and all that I give her every time I go home and
That's
kettlebell stuff.
great.
So yeah, yeah. So that's always I've just I love that. So that's definitely a big goal of mine. And of course, get married and start a family personally is a huge goal of mine. So that's hopefully in the near future.
Hint, hint, Preston.
Oh yeah, hint,
I
hint.
love that, and I love that that's being talked about now too, just with professional runners, like talking
Mhm.
about having families and things like that. And again, there's where we can look up to people like Steph Bruce, who are, decided to go do that and go that route, and they're making it work.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yes, so many mom athletes out there. It's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, shout out to Sarah Vaughn. She's killing it
Yes,
too, and I
yes,
super look up to her with her four kiddos and still running at such a high level.
it's amazing. It really is.
What is an accomplishment you're most proud of?
Accomplishment that I'm most proud of is definitely my getting my professional contract. I think that that's something that, yeah, it's a big deal, and it's not easy. And to be able to say that I'm a professional athlete, like I take a lot of pride in that. And there's a lot of things that we do that kind of go unnoticed. Like we take care of our bodies and to perform at the highest level, like it's it's pretty amazing. So seriously, I think that that's an accomplishment in itself, is to getting to this level, and yeah,
That
believing in myself.
that's so awesome. What is the best most recent book you've read?
It's on my nightstand right now. I'm not sure if you heard of it. It's called Untamed.
Oh yeah, I read it.
Okay.
I listened to it.
Yeah, it's really good. Oh, can you still see me? My
Yeah, I can see
huh,
you're frozen, but
here.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. My mom's I'm getting a FaceTime call. My mom's FaceTiming me. That's funny. Anyways,
She wants
that
an
was
ankle weight
my
workout.
I know she heard me. Oh gosh. Actually Preston got that for me as like a book to read while I'm away. So, yeah, that's what I'm reading right now. And so far, so that's the most recent book, and it's great. I don't know if you liked it, but
Yeah,
everywhere you read, it's everyone says it's great.
I know. All of her books, I'm always like, is everybody just saying they're good because she's Glennon, or are they really good?
Yeah,
And then I read it
yeah,
or listen to it on audio, and I'm like, dang, she is such a good writer.
she really is. She really is. Yeah. So that's what I'm reading right now. So anyone listening, definitely worth going to get.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so easy. Like I was saying the other night, it's just so easy to pick up and put down because you don't have to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
It
chapters.
that's kind of I just love books like that. It's
Hmm.
easier for me to, yeah, because sometimes I don't have, or I can't sit for like 70 minutes, but I have like 10 minutes here and there. I like to pick it up and put it down.
I love books with the quick chapters. I'm like, oh, this is like 4 pages. I can just get through the next chapter and then I can move on to something else and just get little
Yeah,
quick hits in. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, yeah.
Um, are you binging any shows right now?
Oh, well, I already finished Selling Sunset on
Oh
Netflix.
yeah.
Yeah, we all watched it. Yeah, so I'm rewatching season one because it's really fun because we're right here right now, like where all the homes
Oh
are.
yeah.
Yeah, so yesterday we like drove around and like
Did you find any
went
of
and
them?
looked. No, no, no. But tomorrow we're going down further into like the Beverly Hills area because we're gonna run down near like the Hollywood sign because I've actually never been any I haven't really been to LA. So
Yeah.
that's where like the office and everything is. So
Oh,
I think
fun.
Shayla loves it too. So we're gonna go like scope out some of
Gonna go like
the
knock on the windows.
houses.
I saw, I think
Yeah.
it was Chrissy Teigen tweeted like, I've looked at LA real estate for a long time and I've never heard of any of these people. And then there was like all these comments like about, oh, they're not
It's
actually like the heaviest hitters on the market or something.
yeah, okay, so yeah. So Preston actually he just got into real estate this year and he got his license this winter and he's doing the whole real estate thing. So he gets so heated on the show because he's like he it's entertaining. You know, it's
Yes.
not the real side. Okay, so essentially what she was saying is it's fake, it's not real.
Uh huh.
But I don't care. Like it's entertaining.
Uh
Like I
huh.
don't know if what it is, but it's so funny because I'll be watching it or like yeah, he's like, I can't watch this. Because
It's
he
so
just is
funny.
so much more into like the business side of
Uh-huh.
things. Like he like hears them talk, like, talk about the home to like a potential buyer, and he's like, are you kidding me? But it's entertaining, so
Well, yeah, I
I don't
mean,
know if
it's
it's
like,
real.
yeah, it's like my mom's a nurse in any of the like shows with like,
Yeah.
doctors, like ERs and stuff. She worked in the ER for 20 years. She's like, I can't even watch those shows because they're so unrealistic. I'm like, well, it's TV, okay?
Right. Right. So whether it's real or not, I don't really care. I love it. I find it entertaining. I think the houses are cool, and if I want to pretend like I can someday live in those, I
Yeah,
will, because
sure.
it's fun.
Yeah, I found myself Googling how old all the realtors are on Selling Sunset because I was like, man, their lifestyles are just so different than mine here in good old Indiana. And I'm like, I bet I'm the same
Yeah.
age as most of them. And I think the average age is between like 30 and like early 40s or something like
Yeah.
that. And I'm
Yeah.
36, so I'm like, oh, I'm right there with them. Okay. All right, here we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
Yep.
just have a pretty strong Botox regimen, I'd assume.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Hey, if you can afford it, why not? Right? No hate on them. It
No, no,
helps.
no. Okay, who's someone fun, motivating, or inspiring you'd like to have coffee, tea, or cocktail with?
Um, well, back to my mom and all this fitness stuff. It's kind of weird because when you first asked that question, like the first person, I hope you know who she is, I think of is Denise Austin.
Oh my gosh,
Um,
yes!
so
So
I'm
good.
not sure if do you know who Denise? Okay.
Yeah, she's like an
But
old
anyways,
workout lady, yeah, from like the 80s.
she's like she's like the OG.
Yeah.
She's actually not even. I don't. Yeah. Anyways, but that's who I grew up with, because my mom. I mean, my mom still has her like old like tapes, and we have like, and she still uses them, like a lot of them. But anyways, like for a while there, she had her every morning on TV. She would be on TV doing her workout routine. So I honestly, I was little. I probably was like I don't even know, 3, 4, and I remember like when my mom would do it, like I'd bring my stuff into like her room and like pretend like I was doing it too, and um yeah, and I like followed her like all the way up until now, and
I
even
love that.
when I was like younger, like all through like yeah, high school and even in college, like everyone would always like I would lead like the core routine because I just liked talking people through like stuff, and I don't know.
So good.
I still do it. So it's funny. Yeah.
She's
But she's like, yeah,
63.
she
I just
seems like
looked her
someone.
up.
63.
Yeah.
Okay. She seems like someone fun to me. I don't know. She always made fun, and it was like a lifestyle, and yeah. So
Well,
I
when
love
you
it.
start
Yeah.
your podcast one day, she can be your
Like,
first interview.
mhm. Right. I know. That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Put her on
Wow.
your dream list. Put her on there. Maybe I'll pitch her since you probably won't start a podcast for a long time and I'll have you co-host with me.
Okay, that'd be great. Oh yeah, I'm sure she seems like someone that would like get back to people pretty
Yeah,
quick. Yeah,
I bet she'd
I
do
feel
it.
like she's someone. Yeah, yeah.
So good. Okay. Are we at the last question? We are. What is your one message to send to the world?
My one message to send to the world would probably be something about. I was talking to a few of my girlfriends about this a few weeks ago. Just like being positive, trying to take everything and turn it into a positive. I don't know. I've like talked about this too. Like I hate to ever be like a fair weather athlete or a fair weather person, like I think that it's so important, like even like when you perform bad, not to like dwell on it or look at the bad side of things, or even the whole like quarantine thing, like being able to like stay motivated through it and continue to train and kind of yeah, turn it into a positive. I think that that's my thing I would want to put out into the universe. Because you can always take something good out of a bad, I guess, or not even a bad. You can, out of any situation, there's always a positive.
I love it. Well, this was
Yeah.
super fun. Thank you so much for doing it.
Thanks. Yeah, it's great chatting with you.
Good luck in the 10K. I'm excited to see what you do. Are you guys streaming that anywhere?
Yeah. Yeah, well, Flow Track actually,
Oh
they
yeah.
have this meet, so Flow Track will be streaming it, but the Sound Running Instagram, um, Will Lear is like doing the takeover, so he's been updating it and everything. So it's a good thing to also follow if you're just on Instagram.
Sound running.
Yeah,
I need to just subscribe to FlowTrack. Why do I not subscribe to FlowTrack? That's so dumb of me. It can't
I
be that
know.
much money. It's
Yeah,
what is
yeah.
it? It's
Well,
like $10 a month probably.
yeah. I honestly don't know. My dad's had it forever, so that's
Yeah.
how I use it. Because there was
Yeah.
no races going. I didn't know, but now that they're putting on races, be something good to get.
Yeah, and interview prep. So many times I'm like looking at people's,
Hmm.
post race interviews to get like a feel for their personality before I interview them. And so many videos you have to
Right,
subscribe to unlock.
right.
All right, subscribing today, doing it.
Yes, there you go.
All right. Well, have fun in LA, and I look forward to hearing about if you find some of these cool
Me too.
houses, the
Yes,
selling
I
fun set
will take
houses.
some
Yeah.
pictures of it. Oh, one side note. Yeah, yesterday, so we're right in Brentwood, so that's like where the OJ Simpson
Oh
like
yeah.
murder, all that happened. So we like drove by like both the ex-wife's like condo and like his house that like apparently had been like turned down. Anyway, so that's what we've been doing, like staying off our feet, but still doing things,
Uh-huh.
driving and looking at all these like historical murder homes.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
good. You're checking all those boxes
Yeah.
while you're in LA. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right, Emily. Well, have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. You
Bye.
too. Bye.